Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, a review of the first half of the year. I'm doing the mid-year book Freakout tag. So this is something of a booktube tradition, something that booktubers do at this midpoint of the year. Really, it's a look back at the first 6 months of the year, a bunch of questions about what you've been reading, you know, what your favourites have been, different characters you've connected with and things like that. So it's a really fun tag to do. I have already done my top 10 books of the year so far. So if you haven't watched that, I'll leave a link to it in the description for this video. So my favourite book of the year will already be known to anyone who's watched that video. But that is indeed the first question of this tag. So let me crack on with that. So favourite book of the year so far, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It was a surprise to me, as it may be to some of you, but I really thought this was a phenomenal book. Just so engaging, so much fun, really gripping, scary at times, romantic, funny. It just had everything. I really loved this book. Next question then is best sequel. And when I went to answer this question, I was thinking I haven't read many sequels, but when I looked through, there have been a few. So I read the second of the Monk and Robot books by Becky Chambers, which I really liked. But the one I'm going to use for this question is The Lady in the Lake by Raymond Chandler. So I think it's the fourth of the Philip Marlowe books. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I enjoyed it more than the previous books in the series. And I'm not sure that it's one that is particularly rated critically, but I just thought it did what it did really well. It was really gripping. The central mystery I really enjoyed. Marlowe is a great character, so it had some fantastic kind of hardball dialogue, and I just thought it was just a really good mystery. Next up, a new release that you haven't read yet but you really want to. That for me is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. So I loved S.A. Cosby's Blacktop Wasteland and Razorblade Tears. Really looking forward to reading All the Sinners Bleed. I don't know why I haven't read it yet. It came out a little while ago and I'd said to myself before it came out I was going to pre-order it, and I haven't. And I am trying to cut down on the number of books, particularly hardbacks, that I've got, because they take up so much room. And equally, I've kind of begrudged paying £10 for a Kindle book, so I've actually ordered it from the library. Hopefully it'll be in a couple of weeks and I'll be able to read it. So yeah, really looking forward to that. In a similar vein, next question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And I don't normally pay much attention to new releases, to be honest with you. I tend to read older books and try and read from my shelves at the moment rather than anticipating new releases. But I just read a book by this author and really enjoyed it, and it reminded me how much I like him. And he has got a book coming out in the second half of the year which I am looking forward to. So that book is Holly, and the author is Stephen King. So Holly is a book about King's character Holly Gibney, who appeared in the Bill Hodges books and The Outsider, and I really enjoyed all of those books and really enjoy her as a character. So she's like a neurodiverse young woman who's a detective, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does when he gives her a book that's purely dedicated to her. Next up then, so biggest disappointment. There's a few books that have disappointed me this year. So Garth Marenghi's Terror Tome I didn't enjoy as much as I expected to. But I think the one I'm going to go with for this is Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater, which loads of people whose opinions I really respect have raved about, but I just thought wasn't all that, basically. So yeah, it was okay, but it didn't grip me as much as I expected it to. Next one is biggest surprise. So I said it was a surprise when I talked about it earlier. I'm going to go with Jane Eyre again for that, I'm afraid. This book just blew me away, and I really wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. Next one then, favourite new author. So I'm going to go manga for this one and say Shuzo Oshimi. I'm reading Blood on the Tracks at the moment. I'm up to volume 6. And I'm just blown away by how good this is. It's really, it's incredibly disturbing, but brilliantly written. And the intersection, if you like, of the writing and the artwork is just phenomenal. The artwork in this book, I think, is staggeringly good technically. It's just very well drawn, but also just the way he lays out the page has a wonderfully kind of cinematic feel to it. I really think he's an excellent artist, as well as a really good writer, and I'm really enjoying this. Really enjoying this series. Next one, newest fictional crush. So I'm not someone who really goes in for fictional crushes, but I do really like the female assassin character of Yor in Spy Family. So she's like this sort of like absolutely ruthless kick-ass assassin half the time, and the rest of the time she's kind of the pseudo mum for this fake family, where she's like just trying to figure out how to be a mum, how to cook, how to look after the little girl who's also part of this fake family, and she's just incredibly sweet and well-intentioned, as well as being an absolutely ruthless assassin, which is a combination I really enjoy. Next one then, a book that made you cry. So I mentioned Stephen King earlier on. Billy Summers, I didn't actually shed a tear at the end of this, but I came perilously close. So it has got a very emotional ending, which I thought was really well handled. He does something quite clever with the ending, which makes it even more powerful than it would have been anyway. So yeah, Billy Summers by King is my pick for that one. Next up, a book that made you happy. So I'm going to go with Spy Family again for this. So this series is just so much fun. The comedy in it is wonderfully handled. It's really sweet. It's quite heartwarming, but it's quite exciting as well. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's a really lovely series. Next then, the most beautiful book you've acquired this year. So it's got to be this lovely illustrated edition of Poking Holes by Juan Valencia. The illustrations by Jared Sarney, and the illustrations are just fantastic. So they are incredibly horrible, as you would expect for a book like this, which is a collection of very disturbing short stories. But yeah, I do think the illustrations are fantastic and really do add to the book, but that cover in particular is just gloriously horrific. Okay, next then, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? I don't know. I don't think there's any. I mean, there's various projects I've got ongoing for the channel. So, you know, I'm reading through a list of disturbing books. I'm reading Patricia Highsmith books. I am about to announce a new project that I'm going to be doing. So look out for that in the coming week. But there's nothing I'm really, you know, there's nothing that's really completely locked in that I feel like I have to read. I'm just enjoying reading the stuff I read. I will be continuing to read the manga series I've been reading. I'll be continuing to take part in booktube events and reading things for that. But yeah, there's nothing that really stands out as something I feel like I have to read. And the final question then is content creators you've been loving. So, you know, I watch a lot of booktube. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy seeing people's different takes on books and people's different ways of presenting their videos, and you know, every video I watch gives me an idea in terms of, you know, something I might read or something I might try on the channel. But there are a few booktubers who are kind of locked in for me as people I always try and watch, and there's a number of those, and I've talked about some of them on the channel before, but 4 that I'm particularly enjoying at the moment are Super Blomper. So Sam, who runs the channel Super Blomper, reads all sorts of kind of weird and wonderful books, often kind of quite disturbing and different stuff and slightly experimental stuff. So I always enjoy hearing what she's been reading, because it's always stuff that sounds interesting. But she's just got a great visual style as well. So the way she presents her videos I find really engaging, completely different from the way I do my videos, and not something I would even attempt, because I just couldn't do it justice in the way that she does. But I really enjoy watching her videos. Next up, Crystal from Fibre Artsy. So I've been watching Crystal's videos for ages, and she's just so engaging, and she reads so many different things. So she's, I think, a really important part of the booktube community, because she supports so many other creators. But she reads so widely and reads, again, so many books that sound really interesting. I always enjoy watching her videos. Next up then is Kelsey from Slime and Slashers. So Kelsey, I've been really enjoying her videos recently because she just puts so much effort into them and puts so much effort into supporting her, you know, her own community of viewers and patrons. She does some really fun stuff. She's really engaging, but just always entertaining to watch and always going the extra mile to create interesting and entertaining content. And the final one is Brian from the channel Bookish, who covers stuff that's a lot more literary than, you know, most of the stuff that I read. The reason I've picked Brian for this is I think he does a fantastic job of addressing kind of political issues on his channel and doing them in a really straightforward and honest way and using facts to make you know, the political points he wants to make rather than just using emotion. And I think emotion far too often plays a part in politics nowadays, and, you know, going for things that are going to hit people in the gut and make people pay attention rather than actually using facts. And Brian, you know, always presents a lot of data when he's talking about politics and does it in a really interesting and engaging way. So he's another channel that I think is really great. Right, I thought I'd finished, but I just looked back through the questions and I did miss one. I knew I'd miss one because there's a lot of them. So that question was newest favourite character. And that is, again, Jane Eyre. I just thought Jane was such a great character and she really makes the book. It's you know, the book is very much her journey. And it's about her approach to life and her opinions and just her tenacity and her determination to make the life for herself that she wants. So yeah, Jane Eyre, my newest favourite character. So I hope you found that interesting. Let me know if you've got opinions on any of my answers, and do check out the 4 channels that I talked about. They're all really great and definitely worth your time. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're really good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.